Welcome back to the fifth episode of Season 1 of the TURD podcast, also known as the Trail Ultrarunning Race Directors podcast. I'm your host, Shalini Bhajjan, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest. So let's get rolling. I would like to welcome Amy Rusiecki, the race director for Vermont 100. Welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you could make time and we're here to chat. As I like to start the podcast, I am going to start with who is Amy Rusiecki?
Oh my word. That's a big question. I don't know. I'm someone who just likes running. I like running and I love community. So I love the trail running community. That's probably the
So,
easiest.
what's your personal life like? Are you a mom? Are you a wife? Are you a sister, a daughter? Like, tell me a little bit about your background, your family, where you were born, and just a quick snippet into where you grew up.
Yeah. So my dad's a civil engineer.
Okay.
And he worked for one of those civil, like those companies where you're overseeing construction projects, which meant we actually moved a bunch when I was younger. Because he oversaw the Blue Route construction in Philadelphia, and he came up to Boston for like the big dig and like
Sure.
stuff like that. So I moved around a little bit when I was younger. I think once we got to the Boston area, that's when he finally was like, I've got three kids, don't really want to keep uprooting them while they're in school. And so that's from then on, at least I was from the, greater Boston area.
Okay, so
Um,
you've spent majority of your childhood, I presume, in the Northeast then?
yeah, I mean, born in Maryland, but I lived there for a year. And then we moved to Omaha, Nebraska for a year.
Sure.
That was just the headquarters of the company he was working for. And then it was Philadelphia
Okay.
for elementary school, basically, and then up to Massachusetts
So
for
you went
middle school,
right.
high school.
So you went to school there, went to college there, all
I
the
went to college in upstate New York, actually.
okay. Where? What
I
school?
yeah, I did cross country skiing when I was younger,
Very nice.
and that was my sport.
Sure.
That was my sport. So I wanted to go somewhere where there was good snow. So I went to New York in the Adirondack area.
Very
So
nice. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
Cool.
and then ultimately grad school at UMass, which brought me
Sure.
back to the western part of Massachusetts, and that's where I'm
Okay.
at now. So
So as an adult, outside of being away from school, for school, have you lived anyplace else other than the Northeast?
not really, other than like, I had a summer job in Phoenix one summer
Okay.
that I don't like heat. That was a tough summer. But yeah, otherwise it's just been this area. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then you mentioned three kids. So older sibling, younger siblings.
Yeah, I'm a middle child. Probably why I need all the attention, right? Yeah, I have an older sister who she's the one with kids in the family. So I get to be like cool Aunt Amy, which
Okay.
I'm great at. I love
Sure.
kids in small doses. Um, do not have kids myself. Yeah, and then I have a younger brother who he was kind of the wild child of the family, as it were. He was the one that just once a year we'd get a phone call and learn what state he was in and just kind of work
Sure.
inside jobs. So yeah, and
And
I'm somewhere in
married
between.
partner.
Yeah, so I have a husband who's also an ultra runner,
Okay.
Brian Rusiecki. So yeah, and we met through trail running. Yeah, we like knew each other and met and had kind of been like on some training runs together and that sort of thing in our local community.
Sure.
And kind of the story that folks know or people that know me know is there's this big race that's near us called the Seven Sisters Trail Race.
Sure.
And in 2009, he and I were both running it. And I think it was both like when we both were kind of really, we had met each other like 6 months prior, but we were both kind of our stars were rising in a way.
Sure.
So he was the surprise male winner. I was the surprise female winner. And we went out to celebrate a couple nights later, and we've been together ever since. So,
Very nice. So how many years
uh,
have you guys been married now?
oh, you're going to make me remember. Um,
Not a bad thing, right?
13 years now, I think. I think it was
Okay.
2012 that we got
Okay.
married.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, are you race directing full time? What's your real world job, you
What's my
know.
real, yeah, what's the real job? Yeah.
Right.
So I know this is one of these things I kind of wish people knew this a little bit, when I'm getting some of these emails about Vermont 100 stuff race directing is my side passion project.
Sure.
I work for a DPW. Sorry, I think I was starting to head down this road. My dad's the civil engineer, and I always kid that I'm like the product of too many take your daughter to work days, because I became a civil engineer as well. And yeah, so I work for a public works department, and
Okay.
yeah,
And
so
so I'm assuming that's a pretty hectic schedule. Are you tied into a 9 to 5, or what does that look like?
yeah, I mean, fortunately, when you work for a municipality, you don't earn a lot of money, but you get I get a decent amount of days off, which is nice. That helps when I'm race directing and I have to take the day off before a race or that sort of
Sure.
thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm working, it's 7 to 3, but I work, 7 to 3
Gotcha.
Monday through Friday, and then I'm kind of on call unofficially all the time.
Sure.
Um, so because if there's water main break or a sewer line backs up or something like that, I'm probably getting a call and having to do some reporting and
Sure.
stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to go back to Brian,
Mhm.
your husband. What's it like being married to an ultra runner? I hear so many mixed things.
Oh boy.
So, especially when it comes to like racing goals, and I know you've had a very competitive career for a period of time and you're still racing. So, and I'm assuming Brian's racing as well. S-
Yeah, Brian, I'm going to use air quotes when I say this. Brian says he's retired from ultra running. Although he did a 50K like last weekend, and I think
Sure.
he's going to do the 100K at Vermont this year. But he's retired. He's not
Okay.
doing it anymore. So, but yeah, I'll say that it's not without some struggles,
Sure.
but it's also like on one hand, it's great where like we understand each other. So it means like on a Saturday when I'm like, oh, I need to go out and run for 4 hours, I'm going to get up early and I'm not going to see you till noon. And he's like,
Sure.
great, I'm running for 5. And so there's no pressure that like we have to spend time together in the morning. We just kind of make up a plan of like, okay, we'll both be done by 1 o'clock. Great. Then we'll spend the afternoon or
Sure.
whatever. So all of that is great. And then like traveling to races together and both getting the same experience and everything like that is great. Where it gets hard is it's been pretty rare that like he has a good day and I have a good day at the same time.
Sure.
And so there's just so often it's really hard for one of us to feel like we want to celebrate when the other one is maybe licking their wounds or, kind
Right.
of in a rough spot
Right.
about their
Right.
race.
Yeah.
Like even the year that I got into Western States,
Sure.
Brian wanted to get into it more than I did. But my name got pulled in the lottery and not
Right.
his. And that was something where it was like, it was kind of hard because like I'm really excited, but I know that he's really bummed. And so I couldn't
Sure.
be super excited in the house because I didn't want to rub it in that like I got the opportunity to do this thing that he wanted to do more than I did at the time.
Gotcha.
So
So has he since had, I mean, you mentioned when we kind of exchanged emails, you had mentioned you ran Western in 2016.
yeah.
Has he had an opportunity to get in and race it since?
Yeah. So he got in the year after me.
Okay.
Um, so yeah. Uh he
That wasn't too
unfortunately
bad then.
no, he ended up winning his way in. So
Very nice.
that
Yeah.
was that and not through a golden ticket. It was one of those years that Ultra Running Magazine was doing that like ultra
Sure, sure,
race
sure, sure.
series. And we
Yeah,
literally just looked at the math and gamed the system in a way because he was a good enough runner that if we were strategic about what races he did, we were pretty sure he could accumulate enough points to
gotcha.
win that series.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And he
Okay.
won a spot in, which was great. Um, he ended up it ended up actually not being a race that he enjoyed once he was actually out there and he ended up dropping halfway through and just kind of walked away saying, you know what, not everything is my thing.
Oh,
um
really?
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Westerns, I don't know. I feel like as if, as an ultra runner, you should experience it. It's just one of those things, whether you finish it
Yeah.
or not, there's just something about the culture and just being part of that.
Yeah, I don't know what your experience was, but like even I mean, I had a rough day. I puked my way through the
Oh,
race and
shit.
whatever, but like crossed the finish line. And I remember as I was going, even when I felt like crap and I'm like death marching down the trail or whatever,
Sure.
I totally remember just being like, I am like running in the footsteps of giants. Like I am running in the
Oh
footsteps
yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
history,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
just soaking that in
Sure.
just kept me going regardless of what was going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely. It's just like you
yeah.
become part of history, because
Right.
of what the race is and how
Right.
it stands. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think if people can get in, or at least try to get in and experience that, it's a wonderful experience to hang on to and
Yeah.
kind of move forward with. Um, so let's talk about, I'm not going to talk about Vermont just yet. Talk to
Okay.
me a little bit about how, I mean, you said you were skiing, and as we were exchanging, orienteering was part of your initial sort of getting into trail
Yep.
running. Talk to me a bit about that. I feel like personally I teach orienteering, and it's such a dying sport, makes me sad sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
so talk to me a little bit about that, and then how you kind of got into trail running. What year was that? And how many years you've been running now?
Yeah. So yeah, if you go way, way back when I was a kid, my family brought me out orienteering. I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 5, 6 years old. I was doing the stringo, which
Sure,
is
sure.
where, like you have a map, but they also have string
Yes.
from one tree to the next tree to kind of guide
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was doing that when I was really little, and then, starting with like the green courses and
Sure.
everything. Um, but yeah, anyway, I did orienteering when I was really little, and really even through high school. That was something that our family did together. And then through that, when we moved to Massachusetts, the whole community that did orienteering also did cross country ski racing. And so then I joined the local Bill Koch Youth Ski League
Sure.
and did cross country ski racing, and all of that. And I think the funny thing now, sitting here looking back, is like it basically means ever since I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was running through the trails and I
Sure.
was running through the woods. And yet I wouldn't have identified as a trail runner until, you know, 20, 25, 26 years old or something.
Sure.
Even though I was doing it my whole life. Even for cross country ski training, we would go out for like a 2 hour run, and there was, Callahan State Park right on the other edge of town. And I would go and run on the trails there. But I didn't realize it was a sport, which sounds so silly to say, but I didn't
Sure.
realize that was a sport. That was just the place I ran.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, I feel like I was after I graduated college, and so there wasn't as readily accessible cross country ski racing for
Sure.
me to participate in. That's when I kind of went through the thing that everyone did, where it's like, I mean, I also ran cross country through like middle school, high school, college. Wouldn't have said I was a runner. I would say I ran to stay in shape for skiing. But I graduated. And so then it was like I ran marathons for a few years. I got injured. And so then
Sure.
rehabbing from an injury, I started biking a bunch. So I did like a year of mountain biking and cyclocross racing. I did a couple of years of triathlons. Like I kind of did all the endurance sports. And
Sure.
at some point
Settled.
found myself trail running and have kind of been hooked ever since.
Okay. You
I think
remember what year you ran your first ultra? Do you remember
I
that?
think, my first ultra, I think was 2007. And I
Okay.
think my first trail race was maybe 2004 or five. I
Gotcha.
ran Seven Sisters, having no idea what I was signing up for.
Sure.
But whatever, got her done.
Yeah.
So
So if
yeah,
I'm doing the math correctly, you've been racing what, 19 years?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
impressive.
It's
Yes.
been a while. It's been a while. Yeah. Uh,
So, in that 19-year time frame, I feel like I've only been running ultras about 11 or so years now. And
only.
well, but
Come
you
on.
know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
decade is
Yeah.
and I have seen so much transition.
Yeah.
Where do you find yourself with that?
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. I feel like, especially in the last few years, I've actually been saying phrases a lot more often where I'm like, well, back when I started, because like I don't think I realized how long I was in the sport and how many people I've seen come and go, but also how much technology has changed. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I started, like you didn't run with a hydration pack because they didn't have hydration packs made for runners. They had the
Right.
camelbacks that were made for mountain bikers that would bounce up and down and, just weren't comfortable for running. So everyone ran with waist packs.
Sure.
And so like that's what I ran in when I first started. And like there weren't soft flasks when I started, and there weren't like just I've seen so many of these things change and kind of come and go. And yeah, it's been really fascinating to watch the evolution.
Yeah, yeah. And and as you said, that transition, just the coming and going of trends and runners and
Yeah.
just like how people hit their peaks and then they're just gone. Like that some of it is sad because then you're
Yeah.
like, shoot, what does this mean for me?
Well, I also like I kind of kid around with people around me where I kind of say that it's like maybe the typical trail or ultra runner has a lifespan of about 5 to 8 years. They get really
Sure,
excited
sure.
about it. They
Yeah,
work their way up to a 100 miler, and then like life shifts. Maybe they have kids. Maybe they realize that it's taking too much away from other things that they want to do, whatever. And so
sure.
I kind of call that like a generation. And so at times I'm like, I've kind of lived through like 3 or 4 different generations of this sport. And so at times I'll be running with someone and I'll be like, oh, do you know so and so?
Right.
It's an ultra runner that lives in the same town as you. Of course you know them. And I realized like, oh, you don't know them because they were 2 generations ago and you
Sure.
never overlapped with them in a time period, even if you live in the same town.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
it's
when I first
fascinating.
started racing, I remember Carl Hoagland, who used to be the publisher
Yep.
for
Oh, I
Right.
know, Carl. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember talking with him, and he said, I feel like it takes you 7 years to peak when you first start ultra running. I don't know
Okay.
where that came from, or if there was simply a 7 year itch, they
Right, right.
right. So he had said that to me, and he said it's like 7 years to hit your peak, and then you just plateau. And I have like just every once in a while when I think about that, that always hits me. I'm like, that kind of like when you look at the time, would you say that's somewhat accurate for you, or does
I
that
don't
make sense?
know. I haven't looked at it with that lens. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like I always remind
yeah,
myself when you're having a shitty race, and it's like, shoot, I used to be able to do this with so
yeah,
much ease,
yeah,
and
yeah,
here
yeah,
I am
yeah.
struggling. Um,
Yeah.
so so that kind of goes into your running history. Talk to me how well I am aware of Beast Coast racing and running, but I don't know a whole lot. So start with that. And we can go into your community impact and, as you had said, communities, why you started what you're doing and how you've been able to impact that at your end. And then I know you had mentioned your race directing Seven Sisters. So that again, it's kind of a blank zone from where I'm
Right.
coming. So
Yeah.
let's hit
So,
that as well.
yeah. Well, and so like if chronologically, if you kind of look at it, so I mean, I do a bunch of trail races, in my late 20s, early 30s, and all of that. And at the time, the race director of Seven Sisters was looking to, I didn't realize he was looking to turn it over. First, he just was like, hey, I need a lieutenant to be
Mm,
like my volunteer coordinator. I was like,
right.
sure, I'll do that. And this will date it. We found each other on like a forum, like an online running forum,
Sure.
right? That's how I connect with this guy. Um, anyway, so like I come and I help for a couple of years. I didn't realize really what he was looking was trying to
Grooming.
groom someone to take over the race. So I take over the race after um, he had directed its 25th edition. So I took
Okay.
over it in year 26. And so like this race was already super established, super well known, like it had been part of the La Sportiva Mountain Cup, and it caps
Sure.
out at 500 people and it fills in like minutes. Like it's this big deal. So he hands me the reins of this big race, which was pretty amazing.
Sure.
Um, about, I think a year or so after that was when there's a mountain. I'm going to say it's a Massachusetts mountain. It's not a, Colorado mountain, but there's this mountain that's like, I don't know, 3 miles from my house, has a ton of great trails. It does have a trail race on it. All due respect to whomever came up with the trail race that's on it. The trail race that's on it is like all the like cart paths around and then up the mountain. And my husband was always like, I mean, that's fine, but like there's so many more interesting places to run on this mountain. Like
Sure.
there's a cave, there's a waterfall, there's single track. Like there should be a race on all of that. And I was like, cool, maybe I make that happen.
Right.
Um, so like that's Mount Toby. So I created the Mount Toby trail race. And then I also found this place near me called the Chesterfield Gorge. That's from where the parking area is to the far end where you like tee into pavement. It's this whole rolling dirt road. If you run one out and back, it's exactly 25K, like
Okay.
to the nose 25K, which I just was like, well, that's perfect. Just have people run circuits of that as much as they want up to 100 miles. So that
Sure.
became the Chesterfield Gorge race. And
Okay.
so after I had a couple of those going, then that's when I kind of was like, okay, I need like a something to put this under. I think before I literally was like, DBA Seven Sisters trail race.
Okay.
But at some point it needed to be something bigger than that
House.
because it wasn't just Seven Sisters, it was these
Sure.
other races. And so that's when Beast Coast Trail Running began, was as kind of the banner that these events occurred under.
Okay.
Um, but I'm really big in community, like I don't just want to put on a race. I think similar to, what you're doing in your
Sure.
area as well, a lot of it is, community, making everyone feel seen and celebrated. And so to me, that means hosting group runs ahead of these races so people feel comfortable with the terrain, so that people feel like they have access to me and other experienced
Sure.
people, even if it's their first time towing a line in a trail race. Um, it means trail work days. So partnering with local organizations to do work days. And then I also kind of I try and do about once a month, we do some sort of a webinar that's like a educational thing.
Sure.
So I partnered with like, so far this year, we partner with a PT to talk about just kind of like general PT and strength to avoid injuries. Last month, we partnered with a local OB, or I think she's a midwife actually, who specializes in menopause and perimenopause.
Sure.
And so she gave a whole talk about just kind of like what menopause and perimenopause looks
Sure.
like for athletes, and then things you can do, or things to expect, to kind of understand what's going on in your body.
Right.
Um, anyway, so like trying to kind of offer those things as well to try
Sure.
to make people feel like they can be successful and supported, not just on race day, but kind of throughout their journey.
Okay.
So that's,
So when
yeah, kind of Beast Coast is kind of all of these things.
okay.
So,
So with Seven Sisters, what are the distances on that?
oh, you say distances. It's just
Distance?
one.
Okay.
It is just one. No, no, no. It's
Okay.
all good. So it's just one. The Seven Sisters, it's this like unique range. And I think somebody said this once, where it's like almost every single mountain range in New England runs like north south. And this is a unique one that runs east west. But
Okay.
anyway, it's just from this place called the Notch to the Connecticut River and back. And so it's
Okay.
12 miles round trip.
Sure.
And I don't like, this race has been going on since 1990. So
Okay.
whatever, at this point, it's 30, 33 years in, even
Okay.
with a couple COVID years.
Sure.
And yeah, it's amazing. It's like I mean, Nikki Kimball has the female course record still. Like
Very
there
nice.
have been some like phenomenal athletes that have towed the line.
Sure.
Um, so
Okay.
so that's
So
Seven Sisters.
right. So how many races are you currently race directing or hosting under Beast Coast Racing?
I have to count. I think it's like 7 big ones. So
Okay.
it's Toby, Seven Sisters, Chesterfield. We just had one last weekend called the Edge Hill Trail Race. Then we take a break in the summer because I've got Vermont. And then in the fall, we do all of the above, which yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec. So I do all of the
Sure.
above, and then Mount Tom, which is another mountain local. And then race for DFL is my like last runner standing race.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
that's what, 9, 8?
I
Did I
think
count that
that's
right?
7 big ones.
Okay.
And then like I do a snowshoe race that's like a little, and I do like a turkey trot sort of
Sure.
thing. So there's a couple of like little 5Ks in there too. But
Okay. So where you're based, what sort of, I guess, community engagement does Beast Coast have? Are you hitting nearby towns or, what's your athlete base? I'm just
yeah,
curious.
so we're kind of Western Mass is it's kind of the Connecticut River Valley, but this whole portion of Western Mass. And so we generally draw people from that whole area, but we also get a lot of people from like the Boston area that will
Sure.
drive out because we're only like an hour and a half away from that area. So that's kind of the reach in general. So yeah, in most of the races, it's like 100 to 150 at a small one, and then these Seven Sisters is
Sure.
capped at 500 and full.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
as you're heading all these events and, have a full-time job, what does your support system look like as far as, immediate? Because I know I couldn't do what I'm doing, and I do it full time without the community support, without the people that constantly have
yeah,
your back.
yeah. So I have, yeah, exactly. I always say at the beginning of races where I'm like, I get that I'm the person that is annoying you with emails,
Right.
but that I have an amazing support system behind me. And so I have a couple of like really key lieutenants in my friend Kristen Loiko. She's my volunteer wrangler for nearly every single Beast Coast event.
Sure.
Um, and then my friend Rebecca Gonzalez Kreisberg, she does registration for several of the races, not all of them, but at least like they pick up those pieces and a bunch of them.
Sure.
And then I'm just kind of this year trying to build that team out a little more. And so I have I call them Team John Wayne. So this guy John and this guy Wayne, and they're like best friends. They're amazing,
Sure.
but they're my trail gurus. So they're the ones that are just kind of in charge of all things trail, the marking, the unmarking, figuring out how to reroute if
Sure.
we lose permission, stuff like that. Um, so they're doing that. Talia Singer is my medical oversight. So she's kind of looking at all of that. Um, shit, I'm gonna look like an ass if I forget someone, but I'm sure there's someone else. So my friend
Sure.
Caroline Hanna does all
Yeah.
of the social media and stuff
Gotcha.
like that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Um,
yeah, so
so
it's a support team that you need, as you know, like you need
yeah, oh yeah,
really good lieutenants and people that you can trust, because
sure.
otherwise it's really hard for me to let those pieces go. So
Yeah.
I have to feel really comfortable with people.
Yeah. What I guess talk to me a little bit about permitting. And you have started events from ground up, designing courses to, what's that like where you are at? And I always say this, I feel like Missouri, at least where I'm at or where I'm based, St. Louis, I am not dealing, I've only ever had to work the National Forest System once. And that
Yeah,
just, it's a whole another can of worms compared to county conservation or, Department of Conservation, whatever else not
right.
that I have to deal with. So
Yeah.
what's that like for you where you're at?
Yeah. It's so I feel like there's kind of three buckets of groups that I have to deal with typically. So one is for us, the statewide organization, it's called DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation.
Sure,
And they own a lot of they own all of the land that Seven Sisters is on, all of the land, or most of the land that Mount Tom is on, a portion of Chesterfield Gorge. So they are someone now, sitting here now, a decade into doing Seven Sisters, they're great.
sure,
Um, if we want to really get into it, the first couple of years of Seven Sisters, as a woman, as a mid 30s woman sitting in the room, trying to convince them that I know what's up.
Sure.
Um, I was dismissed. I
Yeah.
was talked
Yeah.
down to.
Yeah.
That was pretty tough. It took a little bit to get to the place that we're at now. I'm glad of the place that I'm at now, but yeah, it took a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
Um, I got great stories about that. If you ever want to hear that, but I'm glad we're at that now. So that's kind of one portion that you're going to go with. There's always private landowners
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that you end up having to deal with. So like for Edge Hill, I think there was a handful of private landowners, and so I have a typical like kind of it's typically just reaching out to them, having them sign a form
Candid
that says,
permission.
"Yep, we
Yeah.
understand it," whatever.
Yeah.
And then kind of the third group is the like everything outside of that. So like one of my races goes through Army Corps land or like a town if you need permission from a
Sure.
town or that sort of thing. So
Okay.
and the towns, as you know, they can run the full gamut. Some of them
Oh
are just
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
cool, just let us know when you're doing it. And then some
Yeah.
towns, it's like going to town meetings and
Sure.
justifying it and like all of that. So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
um yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'm gonna
So
jump back to your races. So Beast Coast is known for its gnarly technical. Where do your races stack in there? I mean, is it a wide range where your courses are, you can get a little piece of everything, or mostly dirt trails? Is there a particular race that you love that you race direct and have laid the course for? And
yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I'm sure if you designed courses, you understand the joy of like piecing things together and making it work and making it make sense, right?
right,
Um, yeah, and so we kind of like Chesterfield Gorge is on one end. That's my race course. That's like I think for every 25K, it's like 1,000 feet of climbing. It's on a rolling dirt road that like you can take a truck on. So it's
sure,
not super technical. So that's one end of the spectrum. And then like the Seven Sisters Trail race is the other end of the spectrum where like I mean, at times you're kind of like rock climbing and scrambling up and over stuff. And so I have a whole range there. Most of them are maybe 75% of the way towards the Seven Sisters, so the
sure,
Mount Tom and Mount Toby. It's going to be pretty technical. Times are going to be
right.
pretty slow. Um, but yeah,
So
yeah,
if I had to
we
come,
like the rocks, we like the slow
right.
terrain, we like the mountains
Yeah,
or some
yeah,
good climbing.
yeah. So if I
So
had to pick a race, which one would you say like you have to run this?
I mean, I feel like Seven Sisters is just the iconic one.
Okay, and
So
what time of the year is that?
it's in May, so it's always the
Okay,
first weekend in May.
sure.
So
All right.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
said
come
what
on
was it?
out.
That was about 12 miles out and back, or
Yeah, it's just 12 miles. No big
right.
deal.
All right, I'm gonna hang on to that one. Now let's talk a little bit about Vermont 100. What, how, where you were, and yeah, how did it come about, and how many years have you been race directing Vermont?
Yeah. So Vermont, I also took over after the 25th year. So I took over
Okay,
in year 26. So again, I think it was 2015 was the first year that I directed. So it's been about a decade with a couple of it not happening years
sure,
because of
sure,
COVID and then a flood. Um, but yeah, and you know, I'm not trying to like throw people under the bus when I say this, but like partly what happened, the woman that was the race director for many years, she was amazing. She was looking to start a family and start a business at the same time and was looking to hand it over. And so um the Vermont 100 folks just put the word out to past participants. Hey, we're looking for a race director. If you know anyone who's interested, let me know. Um, the part that it's like, I hope that people are okay with me saying this, but that was at the time, it was about a year after when Lifetime Fitness took over Leadville. And if you
sure.
were around in the
Oh
sport
yeah,
then,
yeah.
they do a good job of it now. But that first year
Oh
was
yeah,
kind of a shit show. And it was at the time, it was just kind of one of those scary, like when a big corporation takes
sure.
over a race and fundamentally changing the values of the race.
Right.
And so I threw my hat in the ring to be the race director of Vermont 100, not thinking, hey, I'm going to be amazing, but just thinking, I care so much about this race and about the integrity and the values and the family feel and everything, that I just wanted them to have an option that held true to that.
Sure, sure.
And I came in without a ton of experience, but with, passion, an engineer's mind to be very methodical and
Right.
organized. Yeah.
So I'm assuming you've run Vermont.
Yeah, I ran Vermont the 6 years prior to that,
Very
which is
nice.
why I had such a connection
Sure.
to that.
Sure.
So
So not knowing, I mean, again, it's an iconic race. It's one of the oldest standing ultras, part of the Grand Slam. Um, Other than that, is Vermont a nonprofit? How does is there a committee? Is there like what does that look
what does
like?
the background look like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess I should start with, I should have started with that. So Vermont 100, the race itself, is actually technically owned by Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports, which is the nonprofit. And
Okay.
kind of how it worked was there was this woman, Laura Farrell, who first she started Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports. So this nonprofit organization that works to provide outdoor opportunities for people with all sorts of disabilities, visible, invisible disabilities, everything. Skiing, rock climbing, sailing, canoeing, paddling, everything. So she started that organization. And then about a year later, when she was also an ultra runner. And so when people were like, hey, there's these other 100-mile races, maybe, we have a 100-mile ride event. Maybe
Yeah.
we want to start a run component. So that's when she started the Vermont 100 in its current form, which was pulling the horses in, but also having a run event. And so she started it as, a Vermont adaptive event,
Gotcha.
was putting on the Vermont 100. And so to this day, it is still owned by Vermont Adaptive.
Okay.
Um, and there is a race committee, similar to all of my Beast Coast races, there's this committee of people, there's this group of people that help in so many ways, especially with a race that big. There's so
Yeah.
many logistics that it's nice that there's like one person that handles all of the like purchasing of all the aid station supplies, and she's got like spreadsheets to die for that can tell you
Right.
exactly how many watermelons per person,
Right.
or exactly how many pickles per person. Like every year she
Sure.
plugs in the data and adjusts. It is like amazing. So that's Lorinda. She manages all the supplies, and there's Kara, who just in the last year has picked up all the restocks. So she coordinates all of the trucks behind the scene that are like restocking aid stations and getting
Right.
people to just drive on the back roads with, trucks and trailers and, gallons of water and, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I mean, like there's just kind of all of these people, but that's the race committee is made up of all these people that all
Sure.
kind of hold really important parts and really kind of captain important aspects of the
Okay.
event.
So how many years will it be this July that Vermont's gonna be happening? Like,
I think it's the 34th year.
okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the course like for, people who don't know and are not familiar with it? And has that course in the last 35 years changed or has that stayed the same?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure like a lot of courses, there are like minor changes every year. There's
Sure.
always one landowner that, revokes permission, or for a couple of years when I ran it, one of the covered bridges was out. And so we had to reroute a couple of
Reroute.
miles around a covered bridge. Or this year, there's a landowner that is logging their land. And so, towards the end of the
Gotta go
course,
around.
there's about a mile and a half reroute around that property that we formerly ran through. So there's always kind of little tweaks like that. Generally, the course has kind of stayed the same, although through 2003, I believe, it used to start and finish in this one location called Smoke Rise Farm. And it changed so 2004 was the first time that it was in the current location.
Okay.
Um, it sounds like hindsight. If you actually look back at the results, hindsight is the previous course back in the day when they didn't have GPSs, the previous course was about 4 miles short. So it was about a
Yeah.
96-mile course.
Gotcha.
So it also means like all of the course records from prior to 2004, we kind of put them on the
Null and
side,
void. Yeah.
because it,
Yeah.
it not
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
was it fundamentally different, but it
Sure.
also was a short course. Now we know that.
Right.
But yeah, generally it's the same, with minor tweaks every year. And then like if you look at it overarching, it's like for the 100 miler, we do have a 100K course as well.
Sure.
But speaking about the 100 miler, so it's about 70 miles of rolling dirt road and 30 miles of trail. And when I say trail, it is trail that horses are riding on as well. So it's
Mm,
not technical trail. It's not New
sure.
England technical. Like a lot of people wear road shoes at Vermont 100, and you can
Yeah.
totally get away with that. Um, and then it's got about 17,000 feet of climbing, but you can't necessarily point to it and be like, there's no like, that's Hope Pass and that's, a quarter of the
Sure.
climb,
Sure.
that sort of thing. So I always say Vermont 100 is kind of like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Because it's that sort of thing. It's
Constant
just
up
like
and down, up
there's
and
like
down.
nowhere on it that's flat. You're either going up or going
Sure.
down. And it's a
Sure.
lot of these little teeny climbs. There are a couple of climbs where it's like, okay, you're going to go up for 2 or 3 miles, and maybe you're
Sure.
going to go up 1,000 feet in those 2 or 3 miles. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Um,
So,
what does the prep look like? Just briefly talk to me with Vermont. What's your pre-race commitment? And I know with hosting that many athletes, post-race isn't just I'm gonna fluff this blanket and go home.
oh my God.
Yes,
Do you want to,
post-race.
yeah, do you want to start with post race? Normally, my goal is about a month after the race to be done with the post race.
Yeah,
It takes a month.
yeah, that's
And
crazy.
partly it's, I'm sure right? Partly it's like responding to emails because you get so many emails with stuff and feedback from people because you do want to hear feedback, especially if
Sure,
it's something you need to change for the previous year. People leave drop bags behind. They have to get mailed back. People leave without getting their buckle. That has to get mailed. I PS mailing things is like the bane
I
of my
was just gonna
existence.
say that.
I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it.
Can that
Um,
rule be changed at your end? We
oh
don't
my
mail
God.
anything.
I know, but like we're
Nobody does
Vermont
these
and
days.
we're welcoming. And yeah, I know it's the worst. Um, yeah, and then beyond that, there's like all of the cleaning and the sorting of
Sure,
stuff. And so yeah, it's about it takes me and then there's all the bills that come in afterwards, or the people on my committee that spent money that I have to send I have to reimburse them
sure.
and that sort of thing. So I feel like typically I'm giving myself a month and then I'm going on vacation because I need it to be done.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then I can turn my page to the next one.
Sure.
So that's the post race. And I more say that I feel like, and I'm not complaining, but I just feel like you're right. A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
runners just think like there's all the work and the buildup, and then we all kind of, wash our hands and go home.
Sure.
And I think that was the biggest shock to me when I started race directing, was like how much work there is after the race
Oh, yeah.
happens
Yeah.
to clean everything up and pin everything up, and make sure that you thank the volunteers, you thank the sponsors, you thank the landowners, you thank the runners, you thank the committee members, you thank
Sure.
all of these things. It's
Yeah.
not complaining, but it
Oh,
amazed me how much work it was.
yeah. I think post-race cleanup is my least favorite part. It's just such an anticlimactic, There's all this build up and the race happens and you're still kind of trying to bask in oh, I made this happen. And then suddenly it's
Yeah,
like, ah, shit.
yeah,
You got bins and bins of cleanup and
yeah,
things going bad
yes,
in the bins, which is never fun.
yes. Oh, yeah.
So, before I let you go, I have two questions for you.
Oh,
Um,
here we go.
just two very simple, easy questions. 19 years of racing, and you've had a very, amazing career and some fast times, wins. So, is there a particular race that you are like, before I hang in the towels, this is the one that I would like to run?
Oh gosh. it's going to sound crazy to say this, but I know. um, and more I say that, yeah, I know I could talk forever about this, but like, I more think I had an awesome career and I had amazing opportunities. And
Sure.
I think it was in 2016 where I had the opportunity to run Western States and UTMB. And, a couple times prior to that, I was able to represent Team USA at a world championship. Like, I feel like after I crossed UTMB, I almost had this identity crisis where I was like, I have checked off so many of those like major things on my
Sure.
bucket list. What else do I need to do? And
Yeah.
so it was crazy. Like I kind of went through that for a couple of years, but now I get to just do races where it's like, this would be really fun to do,
Sure.
Um, and that's kind of an amazing thing. So, I
Yeah. Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
to love running, but I don't feel this need where I'm like, here's this thing that I haven't done that I
Have to
really
achieve.
want to, participate in.
Sure.
Because I've had a lot of amazing opportunities and I've
Yeah.
gotten to do a lot.
So we speaking of UTMB and just racing outside of the US, and I have to ask this because my experience has been we baby runners here, like a lot.
Yeah.
So talk to
Yeah.
me how that like and I know sometimes it's always like, oh, she's such a hard ass race director. And it's like, no, like and especially
Yeah.
with the transition of 19 years, so much of the racing has become easier, and I say that in air quotes because
Right.
it's become simpler. Um, so what does that like? What's your stance on that? Where do you stand?
Well, no, I mean, I totally agree. I almost think it's important for races to be like something like Vermont. I feel like my race committee feels so strongly that here is a race that we want to be very accessible for everyone, a great first time 100. And so we embrace that. We have more
Sure.
aid stations that you will need. There's never more than 5 miles between an aid station, like just we're going to pamper the shit out of you. And that's okay. That's what we're known for,
Right.
right? I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying not every single race has to be like that because getting the amount of volunteers to support that sort of experience, it's a
Yeah.
lot, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and so I think it's also okay to have races that are less supported, especially since I think there's so many resources out there now um, to make sure that runners can be safe
Sure. Sure.
with less support along the
Yeah.
way. Or there are ways, like back in the day when you were running with a waist pack, I mean,
Right.
how do you carry more than 2 bottles worth of fluids on you?
Yeah.
Now you
Yeah.
can carry you know, 3 soft flasks and you're carrying 3 hours worth of fluids on you or
Sure.
whatever, like now they've got water bottles with filters in it. So as long as you cross the stream, you can take care of yourself, like there's just so much more available information, technology, everything to
Yeah.
have runners be a little more successful without as much support.
Hand
And so
holding.
then
Yeah.
I think it's okay for races to just say, hey, this is one where you're doing a little more on your own,
Sure.
and that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
It's more
Uh,
badass.
right. Um, with that, and I get like the whole concept with Vermont. So when you got on, and I guess this would be more a question where I would say, as a female race director, and over those 19 years of racing, the transition, the challenges, and the changes. So I guess let's start with challenges. Like, do you just briefly talk to me where, it's not heard, your voice is not heard, or because I go through that occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I know. I mean, getting back to Seven Sisters when I first took on Seven Sisters,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a perfect example, right? I sat in a room with a bunch of folks from DCR, and um, one of the guys from DCR was sitting there and just railing into me about how I needed to have like medical people everywhere on that course because heaven forbid someone gets injured. I have no idea how hard it is to get someone off that mountain and to safely rescue someone. And he just like spent half an hour railing into me.
Right.
And like I've got the local fire department there as, this guy's railing into me. And it isn't until the end of the meeting, like, and I just take it, right?
Sure.
Just totally take it because he's at that point, he's not the sort of person that's going to let me stand
Yeah.
up or
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
anything. Instead, it's just like, nope, he needs to yell and I just
Yeah.
need to take it, right? At the end of the meeting, the guy from the fire department's like, oh yeah, Captain so-and-so is going to be in charge of him. You remember him from when you were on the fire department, right? And I was like, yep, I do. And
Yeah.
you should have seen the DCR guy's face where he was like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
she
Yeah. Yeah.
actually knows.
Yeah.
I just laid into her because I looked at her as this, young skinny chick and didn't
Right.
realize that like she was on the local fire department for 10 years. She was on the rescue squad. They loved
Sure.
her on the rescue squad because she can fit in small spaces.
Yeah.
I actually knew he just made an assumption based on how I looked
Right. Right.
and my age and didn't even think to ask the question. He just made an assumption. And the unfortunate thing, like I tell that story, but the unfortunate thing is I think that happens all the
Oh
time,
yeah. Yeah.
especially with female race directors, where they just kind of assume, at times people assume that we don't know what we're doing,
Sure.
and that
Yeah.
sort of thing, that we don't have the experiences that we have
Yeah.
because of how we look, because of our age, because of, whatever.
Yeah. There's definitely a
And
little
it's
bit of that
hard. Yeah.
underestimation
Yeah.
that goes on. Quickly,
Yeah.
talk to me what your thoughts are on the sport changing. Because as I mentioned, I feel like I'm kind of old school adapting to new school. But you go way back before I even came into the picture.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's so fascinating. And I feel like there's a lot of ways that the sport has changed for the better. And then there's some ways where I'm not sure, I can't say that I'm a fan of, some of the like the UTMB, you know, buying a bunch of these races and kind of
sure,
commercialization of a lot of those races. Um, that being said, like I am an athlete who has run UTMB. I'm an athlete who's run Western States. I understand the appeal of it,
right.
and so I don't even judge anyone who says, I want that experience, even if I don't agree with it
Agree with it.
philosophically. 100% understand it. UTMB was amazing.
Sure,
Um, that being said, um, I at least stand firmly in like the races that I organize, it's like the money's going back to the community. It is supporting
sure,
local land trusts. It's supporting my local Girls on the Run. It is supporting, it's supporting local organizations that I feel very strongly about.
sure.
And to me, like, actually, someone came to my race this last weekend and they just were like, even though it was a second year race, but they literally were just like, wow, this is like an old school event. And I took such heart from that because to me, I'm like, that's a compliment. It's no frills. It's nothing. It's just people that love running and love
Sure.
supporting each other and, you know,
Yeah. I think
whatever, right?
that's a part I miss a lot
Yeah.
with and some of it is just making it more adapting to some of those changes is
Yeah.
making it a little more accessible for the newer runners, but
Yeah. Yeah. But
going
I mean, like, the flip side is like, I like the fact that the sport now, like when you're in ultra running, and so it's not like USATF road
oh
running,
yeah.
that sort of thing,
Yeah.
like we're able to have non-binary athletes
Sure.
and allow them to register as they identify and honor them as they identify and have a non-binary podium. Like I love
Right.
the fact that I can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that like, Vermont, we have the athletes with disabilities categories.
Yeah.
And we have a lot, I mean, I say a lot, a higher percentage than a lot of other races, at least, of
Sure.
visually impaired and mobility impaired athletes.
Yeah.
This year, we're actually launching a third category based on feedback of runners of it's kind of invisible disability. So it's people that are neurodivergent,
Sure.
PTSD, TBIs, stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
that impacts their races
Sure.
in ways as well. I guess so. Partly, I love that like this sport isn't at least the old school races, they aren't so commercialized that I can be adaptive to feedback and
Sure.
create these things that make more people feel welcome.
Inclusive. Yeah. Yeah.
And and so I kind of love that. And I love the fact that like we have that opportunity where 20 years ago, it was just
Sure.
like, hey, fucking pin on a number and go, like
Yeah.
nobody cared,
Nobody
like
did.
at that point we were
Yeah.
even battling for like, hey, shouldn't women have a podium?
Oh yeah.
And I love the
Yeah.
fact that we're like well beyond that
Yeah.
conversation. But
Yeah.
it's come, I love the fact that it's come a long way in some of that. But yeah, so there's the good and the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna call this a wrap. Thank you
Cool.
so much for sitting down and chatting with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so nice
Um,
to meet you.
yeah, you as well. Thanks for listening to today's episode. And if you're looking for more information on the TURD podcast, visit our website at Terrain Trail Runners, that's runners with an S.com, or give us a follow on the social media channels. Until next time, don't forget to say thank you to your favorite race directors. We appreciate it, and it makes the jobs worth doing.